your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found.
Hello, and welcome to our show. This is Healing Outside the Box, and this is our 26th show, and my name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm a Reiki energy healer.
And my name is Traci Crampton, and I'm an energy practitioner. And the title of today's show is Why Can't I Sleep? And with us, returning, we have Dr. Jarod Skowrun. Welcome.
Thank you, Traci.
Welcome.
Rosemary.
So great to have you
Yes,
back on our
is.
show again.
It's great to be here. So thank you again for inviting me back on your show.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Skowrun is a naturopathic physician practicing in Wallingford at Harvest Park Naturopathic Medicine. He is faculty at University of Bridgeport's Medical School, teaching advanced natural therapies of botanicals, nutrition, and homeopathy. Dr. Skowrun has helped many people with a realm of chronic conditions, including fibromyalgia, hypothyroid, hypoadrenal, irritable bowel syndrome, cancer, and he specializes also in the biomedical treatment of autism. Today he is going to talk about insomnia, the lack of good, healthy sleep. And as the Rolling Stones say, you can't always get what you want. What a cute, yeah. It's great to have you
Thanks
back.
again.
So,
Okay.
I guess you're saying that a lot of Americans are suffering from lack of sleep, that we're having difficulty getting to sleep.
It's
in
true.
general?
I am shocked at so many number of my patients come in having horrible sleep. And we break them down into two categories. The first category is the people who cannot fall asleep, and the second category is the group of people who cannot stay asleep. But we are a culture of people who are exhausted. And of course, sleep is so important, as everyone knows, for healing of the body and regeneration and rejuvenation. And we just aren't getting it. And it's sending us down this horrible, vicious cycle and spiral into chronic disease and feeling horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, as the two of you know, as energy practitioners, how many of your patients fall asleep right on the table
Yes,
when
that's
they're
right.
doing their work.
Exactly. That was the best sleep I've had. I'm so relaxed.
Right, I know.
You're not supposed to fall asleep on the table.
I let him.
You can't. Oh, yeah, I don't wake them up. But, I mean, you get more out of it if you stay awake. But you're right.
So,
Finally, a moment's rest.
exactly. So it's really exciting for me to help a lot of these people get the sleep and the rest that they need. And there's a couple things that we need to look at, and I'm sure a lot of people who aren't getting good sleep are trying all the things that they normally try. And the first thing, of course, is to make sure that nobody's disturbing you. So make sure that the dog isn't barking and the kids aren't screaming and there's not any noise outside, and you want to make sure you draw all your curtains, make sure there's no ambient light coming in. Sometimes even the ambient lock from your clock sitting on your bedside can be just
Right.
enough light that part of your body notices that. So pitch
Right.
blackness and quiet and hopefully nobody snoring next to you is just the first step in making sure that you get good, healthy sleep.
You know what I noticed? What do they call them? LED lights?
Yeah, the LED.
They're on my phone, which is next to the bed. They're
Sure.
on the what do you call it? The television cable box. So I
Right.
throw a towel over that one. I put a sock on my phone.
Right, because
Good.
I
Turn
understand
away
that
light is so bright.
interferes, even the smallest
So
little light
bright.
will interfere with
Yeah.
your melatonin production,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that,
Oh,
but
good.
it's true. Even the smallest light, like you said, the little LED light, something on your cable box, something on your clock, something on your phone, those small things your body will notice. Even if your eyes are not open, you will see them. We have
Wow.
receptors in all
Receptors
of our
on this.
cells
Yes.
to light. So you can close your eyes and have someone turn the light off or on, and part of your body will notice.
Wow.
So
So what happens when we're having a full moon like we are now?
watch out in the
yeah.
Can't
ears.
avoid.
Oh boy, full moon.
But what you brought up, Traci, was the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is the brain chemical called melatonin. So melatonin is created in our pineal gland, which is secreted back from the back of our brain, a little part called the thalamus. And melatonin is a hormone which we all have, and I call it the Big Ben of hormones.
Oh, wow.
Because melatonin is secreted on a daily cycle, or what we call a diurnal cycle. It only comes out at a certain time of day. And when that hormone is secreted, it sets the clock for the rest of the body. So
Wow.
people who are always traveling, people who have jet lag, people who work abnormal shifts. First they work first shift, then they work third shift. These people's daily cycles.
New moms.
The daily cycle
I
of
know
sleep and the
that.
daily cycle of hormones is disturbed. And this is
Yes.
going to throw you into insomnia, and this is going to throw you into extra stress, extra hormonal stress.
Does melatonin
Wow, what is-
turn on everybody at the same time?
It
Or is it
should
different?
turn on before you go to sleep. So those people who have regular sleep patterns, melatonin kicks in as you're falling asleep. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock
Okay.
every night, hopefully melatonin will kick in at about 10 o'clock. If you go to bed at 1 o'clock every morning, melatonin will start to kick in at 1 o'clock every morning because the body is smart enough to adapt. So people who always work third shifts, or the late night news people, whoever is up at night, you do that enough and your body's
Right.
going to start producing melatonin come 8 or 9 in the morning.
That's why
because
it
that's
is.
when you go to sleep. So it sets your daily clock, whatever your daily clock is. But it's real easy to mess up that clock if you're doing different hours. First you're up in the morning, then the next day
Right,
you're up at
and
night.
especially if you work nights and then you're trying to sleep during the day, but
Right.
there's light all around you, you
Right.
can't avoid.
Nope, got to put the sock on the
Right.
phone, close those curtains.
Yeah, get those room darkening
Exactly.
shades.
Yeah.
And melatonin is only secreted from the brain about the first 45 or 50 years of life. And after that, it
Right.
stops.
Uh-oh.
That part of the brain calcifies. In fact, when
In everybody, or just in people who are maybe out of balance?
in
or
everybody,
everybody.
or a good 90-95% of people.
So
It's
by the
about that
time you're
age.
50, no more melatonin, huh?
Exactly. So that's one of the major nutritional supplements that I'll use with people who are past 40 years old and having problems falling asleep. Because it's that clock, it's that Big Ben that says now's time for sleep. And without that producing that amount of melatonin, you're not going to have that. So it's the first great thing to try for those people. So if you're over 40, you want to try something, can't fall asleep, first thing to try is melatonin.
And that's responsible for restorative cell regeneration, is that correct? Or I heard it's a growth hormone, but I don't know.
It stimulates
how that
growth hormone.
Stimulates growth hormone.
So growth hormone comes out of another part of the brain,
okay.
hypothalamus, and the pituitary, and the pineal gland will stimulate that.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
So,
When I had my health food store, when I owned my health food store,
right,
I had feedback on melatonin,
tell me.
and some people it helped, and other people it kept them awake.
Right.
And I'm one of those ones who it kept awake. Mm-hmm. So can you explain that for the
Sure.
people who had that problem?
Sure. There's going to be a unique, different answer for everyone. So if you're someone who's low on melatonin, it's going to work. It's going to give you nice, deep sleep. It's going to work within half hour or an hour. You're going to be very drowsy and put to sleep. It's going to give you some crazy dreams. For people who haven't had solid sleep in a long time, you start getting that melatonin and you're going to be put into a very, very deep sleep with a lot of dreams and a lot of restoration of the body. But some people don't need melatonin because the brain is not the only part of the body that produces it. We also have the gastrointestinal system and the intestinal cells producing a small amount of melatonin. So you and other people who don't work well on melatonin are producing enough, and your adrenal glands are not responding in a relaxed sort of way. So that's when we have to start to look at other parts of the body that aren't allowing you to go to sleep. So.
Well,
Now, when you owned your store, what did you notice in the difference of the people who slept well with melatonin and didn't sleep well with melatonin?
what do you mean? What did I notice?
Make any observations in the types of
Types of people?
yeah,
Sure.
types
No.
of people in the,
No, all different types of people. It's just that some it worked and some it didn't. There wasn't. No, I didn't. No, I couldn't say a certain class of people it worked or said no, it didn't.
Okay.
Because it didn't. For me, it kept me awake too.
Right.
You know. So, and at my age, which is, I can sleep pretty good.
Most 29-year-olds do. Oh, thanks,
have you back
Rosemary.
again. Flattery gets you everywhere.
That's right.
But for those people where melatonin doesn't work, and again, I normally suggest that for people over 40 who can't fall asleep, and that's where the difficulty lies. The rest of the people, we have to start testing. And sleep treatment can be a lot of trial and error unless the correct testing is done. We need to look at neurotransmitters, those chemicals that the brain secretes. We have to look at the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are that part of the body that produce adrenaline and produce all those hormones that help us combat stress. And we also have to look at sex hormones. We have to look at estrogen and progesterone and testosterone in both women and men. So that's normally where we start, and it's in one of those locations, generally, that the problem is going to lie. And then once we correct that naturopathically, sleep comes back, sleep's restored, and everybody feels great.
I've heard some people just have adverse reactions to it. I mean, opposite my son-in-law, if he takes Benadryl, which is supposed to help make you sleepy,
I know.
he's wired.
My child's like that.
You know, and me too. I have to be very careful what I take because I get wired by things that, what was it, St. John's
St.
Wort?
John's Wort.
Wired me right up.
Yep.
It's supposed to put people to relax them, right?
There's about 20% of people that have this dichotomy effect in these kind of things, whether it be Benadryl, whether it be melatonin. It occurs a lot in benzodiazepines, which is a form of drug that works on the brain.
Well, that's
And
like Ritalin being a type of caffeine, right? And,
It's
and
speed.
it helps to slow children down who are hyperactive, which is interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, Ritalin is speed, and that works on your catecholamines. It gets dopamine and norepinephrine and epinephrine running really quick. And for about 10 or 20% of kids, that calms them down. And it's that polar opposite effect that you see with the melatonin, you see with the Ritalin. The other 80% of kids who take Ritalin get so ramped up on it that it doesn't work for them. So there's a lot of other answers besides the Ritalin and the Concerta and the Adderall that might be more healthy for them. I mean, the horrible stories that you hear about kids not doing well on it or being depressed and going down that kind of spiral. There's too many of those stories.
Absolutely.
So
what are some of the environmental factors you think we're dealing with in our daily lives that might be influencing our quality of sleep?
A lot of toxins that are out there. So there's a lot of toxins in the world. They're in our air, they're in our water, they're in our food. I send most people to an internet site, scorecard.org, SCORECARD. Did you go after I told you?
Yeah.
Good.
It's interesting.
Good. You type in your zip code and you get what chemicals are being dumped in your water and your air and your land. And it will list them out for you. And it will also categorize your county versus all the counties in America or versus whatever counties you key in. So it's a dirty world, and it gets into us and it starts to bother us. And I see a lot of people who have lead in their body. And where do heavy metals live? Things like lead, things like mercury, things like cadmium and arsenic. They live in fat tissue. They love to hang out in fat tissue, and the brain is mostly fat.
Oh, yeah.
So the brain is covered in fat, known as a myelin sheath.
Yeah.
So it sits there and it destroys the brain. It just destroys each cell one at a time. Same thing with aspartame. It's that sweetener that you find in Diet Colas and other kinds of food. Damages the brain. It just eats away one cell at a time. And when we have part of our body being eaten away, it inflames, almost like a sprained ankle. So if you think of a sprained ankle, it gets really big and you can't move it, and you're always restless and moving around. Same thing happens in the brain.
Wow.
So detoxification protocols help other people fall asleep, which is great because their body isn't under this chronic attack from different things. In fact, there was one lady who I just saw this week. She came in with horrible pain. She had a lot of fibromyalgia. That was her main complaint. And she was on a lot of pain meds. She was sick of the pain meds. She didn't want to do them anymore. Her doctors wanted to refer her to a psychiatrist and said, "We don't have any answers for you. Why don't you go there?" Where she would have probably gotten antidepressants. So she came and saw me, and we ran a heavy metal test. So we collect the urine, which is where heavy metals leave the body, and she was full of lead. So we detoxed her out of lead, and just in 2 weeks she came back. She said, "Not only is my pain 50% better, and I have 80% more energy, but I'm sleeping every night now."
Wow. Fantastic.
So it is fantastic.
Something just like that, you know, instead of going through all those drugs after drugs after drugs. That's great. That's so great. I wish more people knew about naturopathic doctors. I wish they did.
Well, one person at a time.
I know.
So.
I know.
Then there's also the hormonal changes that you have to think about with sleep, because the hormones that we all think about, of course, the main ones are estrogen and progesterone when we talk about sex hormones. And they balance each other out. Estrogen is very building, it's very active, it's very yang. If you look at yin
yeah,
yang
yeah,
in Chinese
yeah.
medicine, it builds, it moves, etc. And progesterone is the relaxing one. It's the one that says, calm down, take a rest, and let's relax. And most people have a lot more estrogen than they do progesterone. And these are the people who do really poorly when they have soy.
Right. Yes.
Right?
This is.
Right? And when you have all this soy,
And now we have
there's
all,
bad
you know,
on
this huge media push for the soy, you know,
Sure.
it helps this and that, but people
Sure.
go in it blindly, they get everything soy, and then they
Right.
don't realize that their body's being overloaded with the estrogen,
Right.
and in formulas and
Oh,
whatnot.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. In our plastics,
Yep.
the plastic, that soft plastic that leaches out, can have an estrogen
Right.
effect on the body. The estrogens that may be in our meats and our
Even
dairy.
though maybe a little might be a good thing, too much can be
Exactly.
toxic.
And it's all about balance.
Yes.
It's how much of this do you have compared to how much of that, and what do they do in the body? They normally cancel each other out, but if one's too big and the other's too small, that imbalance is going to cause problems. And that activity and that fire of estrogen will keep you awake. So people who have low progesterone, and this can be females or this can be males, because everybody has the same hormones, just in different levels. People with low progesterone will not sleep and will
Right.
not stay asleep. So different progesterone creams or
Wild yam. Is
progesterone
wild
hormone
yam pretty
replacement.
good like that?
Wild yam is a great progesteronic.
Yes.
So are pumpkin seeds. Excuse me, not pumpkin seeds. Sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. Very progesteronic in the body. They don't have progesterone in them, but they activate those
they
receptors
activate.
in the body.
Wow.
So
And soy is in most of the things we buy in the supermarket. I don't think
Sure.
people read. We're inundated with soy everywhere. Wheat and soy, wheat and soy. But soy for women premenopausal is not good. And I've even read where it causes fibroid tumors and breast tumors and so forth. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And I really,
About that.
and in other forms, we're being inundated with estrogen because it's in our meats. With the,
Yep.
they want to stimulate the reproductive
sure, stimulate milk.
capacity of, the milk
The bovine
and
growth
all
hormone,
of that.
yep.
So they're pumping our food supply with estrogen.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Watch out for
No
Codex,
wonder
it's
we
coming.
can't sleep. Wow.
So, well, tell me from you guys, for the patients that you see in your practices, what do you see for insomnia, and what is the normal story of the patients that come in?
Well, I am working with a patient or a client, I should say, right now who has difficulty sleeping, and it's interesting because he's very much, I would say, activated in the upper chakras, you know, from like the throat chakra to the crown chakra, and he's not very grounded. Like, so he has a difficult time, you know, grounding and coming down, and
Right.
and I find that he spends a lot of his time in artificial light and in, you know, a research environment, and he's not getting out in nature. Like, he's not getting grounded, he's not getting in touch with nature, and I see that definite imbalance there.
Sure.
So, you know, I keep encouraging him to go out in nature. It's like asking him to, you know, I don't know, do the impossible. It
It's,
seems like it's
it's-
against his nature.
Yeah, no pun intended. But yeah, I think we're all very we're all very disconnected
Yeah.
as a society. I mean, who goes out anymore and is really out in nature, unless you're into camping or unless you're into hiking or being outside? And we come from, take a look at our ancestry. We were always farming, or we were
Right.
always hunting animals, and we
And
were
we
always
understood
sleeping.
the biorhythms and the moon and the
Sure.
tides and when
Yeah,
we're supposed to
exactly.
plant and when we're supposed
Right.
to reap and when we're supposed to rest and when you know, there was a natural balance. When we're connected with nature, we
Right.
become in tune to that.
Exactly.
But when we disconnect,
Right, we're out of rhythm.
we're out of rhythm. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mention the patient's upper chakras being activated and lower chakras
Yeah, it
not
almost
being
feels like
activated.
there's like a cutoff. It's
Right.
it's so blatantly obvious.
Right.
You know.
And that's how most of our society sleeps. We sleep on our mattress and box spring, and what's underneath, what's connecting us to the ground, is nothing but 4 little pillars of our
Right.
frame. And a lot of people will sleep better when you're in contact with the ground, whether you're camping and you're on the dirt, or
Right.
some people actually get rid of the frame of their bed and just put the box spring and mattress right there on
Directly on the ground.
or sleep in the basement. If you're connected to the ground and you're connected to nature, you're going to feel those rhythms better.
I want to sleep in my basement.
Yeah, mine either.
I
We'll
want to
get you a
sleep
tent
outside.
Yeah.
And not only that disconnect, as you mentioned, but also the other type of energies that you'll have in your house, especially electrical outlets and the electrical energies
Right, the
that are
electromagnetic
created.
fields.
Exactly. So, I mean, those are definitely present and really tend to focus around our electrical outlets. So people who sleep away from electrical outlets can get better sleep than those who sleep by their electrical outlets.
Wow.
And not only the fake energies, but also the real magnetic energies of the earth. I mean, the electrical
Ley lines and
pole,
stuff, yeah.
the ley lines, and you have a compass, where does it go? It points north. It points north because there's a magnetic pull all around us. So even moving your bed into a north-south position can help you feel those rhythms
Wow,
of the earth
okay.
even better.
So now you're getting to be a little feng shui expert too.
One piece at a time. As I don't put the bed in front of the door.
I had heard that you shouldn't sleep with the moonlight shining upon you. That it can keep you from sleeping. It can give you energy, can rev you up. Because we all know a lot of people, people will behave badly on a full moon.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And others will behave wonderful, but
Right.
but more the other, you know.
Right.
So I heard don't let it shine on you when you're sleeping.
Well, if you're sensitive to light, again, any light is going to bother you, whether it's the LEDs or whether it's the moonlight or whether it's the street light. You know, if you're sensitive to it, you may in the beginning, you know, when you're really trying to establish that sleep cycle again, eliminate all light possible.
I
So-
like a very dark room when I sleep. I like it dark.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
Right. And
What-
there's a... Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
please.
no, I have a completely different question, so
That's all
finish
right.
yours.
No, I was going to lead from sight to noise, and so if
Okay.
you do have people, I mean, snoring, restlessness of the person sleeping next to you, people who have different machines, whether you have an oxygen tank or you have a CPAP machine, those kind of things may cause noise, and earplugs may benefit you.
Yes, I've used them.
Good.
I highly recommend those little
Excellent.
things you squeeze in your ear. What if circumstances in your life just can't allow you to get the proper sleep you need just because you have to be on, like with a new mother,
Right.
you know, who's, you know, asleep for 2 hours, awake, sleep for 2 hours, awake. What can they do to help them create a little more balance through that, you know, feeling of
Sure.
tiredness and exhaustion all the time from lack of sleep?
Right. Nobody has better rhythms than a healthy baby. So hopefully the mother's rhythm of sleep will start to mimic that child's
Except
rhythm.
they can't take the naps during the day
Yeah,
that the
that's
child's
true.
taking on.
But when, as everybody knows, you sleep when baby sleeps.
Yeah.
The other thing
That's
that
good advice.
really helps a lot of mothers that I see, when we talked about those imbalanced parts of the body, it's going to be the nervous system, is it going to be the sex hormones, is it going to be the adrenal glands? Those adrenal glands are our compensation for stress. And nourishing those and giving the body the tools to heal that so you
Yeah.
can create as many stable stress hormones as possible.
Especially since if you've just given birth, your hormones are
Exactly.
tend to be all over the place.
Definitely. So a lot of people, especially mothers, are going to have a lot of internal stress and external stress, obviously. So nourishment of the adrenal glands works really well. And I definitely suggest testing. We do salivary testing that looks at our adrenal hormones. It looks at cortisol, and it looks at another one called DHEA. DHEA is very important because that's the adrenal hormone that then floats down to the ovaries or to the male's testicles and creates estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So there's this connect between the two of those. And people, whether they be mothers or anyone who has really spiked up stress hormones, you can't sleep. It acts so much like adrenaline that if you are really ramped up, you're not going to be able to sleep. And these are the people who normally can fall asleep but can't stay asleep. So they wake up, fall asleep, another couple hours, back up and down and up and down. And these people will also be very sensitive to caffeine. So if you're the type of person who can't
gets
go off
edgy.
caffeine or gets really edgy with a little caffeine, it means your adrenal glands are not doing too well and not producing those hormones that you need. So the test is easily run, and we can choose the best natural therapy, whether it be botanical or whether it be nutrient like vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, or vitamin C, or different adrenal herbs like licorice, ashwagandha, and withania, and holy
licorice is
basil.
one I take
Licorice
licorice.
is a good stimulator for the adrenal glands. It's bad with people with high blood pressure.
But you could get the DGL.
You
right?
can get the deglycerinized
Yes. Yeah.
licorice.
Good
So very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So you're saying if caffeine, I'm hear you right, that if caffeine bothers you,
Correct.
then you have adrenal problems?
Correct.
Okay.
So, like somebody I talked to in my office today said she needs caffeine. Boy, if she doesn't have caffeine, she's going to be exhausted during the day because those stress hormones aren't there. The cortisol is not at the level you need. And you get these symptoms of something that's known as Addison's. But most people don't have frank Addison's disease, which is an adrenal condition where the adrenal glands aren't making any hormones, but you're producing such a low level that you're not getting anything. So people self-medicate with caffeine. This person then tried to go off the caffeine and was just exhausted, laid in bed for 2 weeks after she stopped taking caffeine because her body couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
So anyone out there who's like that, go get tested. Get your salivary hormones done for cortisol, for DHEA, and get put on a program to nourish those back to health because you can come back in a few months and feel great. Never need caffeine again. Not that it's not delicious.
Really? Everybody.
That's my problem. I just like the way it
Right.
tastes. Oh, well.
We're a caffeine world. And I
We are.
think that's what makes everybody speed around their car so fast.
Sure.
Everybody's hyper. Everybody's
Yeah.
caffeine, caffeine, caffeine. I was going to say something and I don't remember what it was. So continue.
All right. What do you have some, say maybe some stress techniques
Oh, I know
that
I was gonna
you
ask,
can
okay.
share? Like, say you are the type of individual who wakes up often throughout the night. What are
Right.
some things you can do to kind of encourage the body back to sleep in those moments? Is there something even like a tea you can drink or something that's soothing and calming to kind
Sure.
of like get you back into the
Sure.
sleep?
That's a good. It's a good thing to bring up. My grandfather always used warm milk. How does that work? I have no idea, but he swears
To
by
the
it.
old methods, yeah.
Different teas like valerian tea and passion flower tea, even hops in the form of tea, not in the form of beer, are very relaxing to the
You know
body.
what I like? Kava.
Oh, kava's
tea.
fantastic.
That always relaxes me, and I have wonderful dream sleep when I take that tea
I
before
love
bed.
kava. Kava is, as you probably know, produced in the South Pacific. So it's produced in Tahiti and Fiji, and this is where they grow it. This is their recreational drink. So the day is over, or it's Friday, and they want to relax. Everybody gets together. They get a big pot out on the beach, and they make a huge pot of kava tea, and it's extremely relaxing. Now, kava got some bad press a while
Yes, it
back
did, yeah.
because one batch of kava got poisoned in the factory it was in, and a lot of people got liver toxicity from that one batch, but no other batch of kava has ever caused any problems. So, as
Yeah.
long as you don't have any liver problems, you can take kava very safely. It's very nice.
Wow, good.
And the next thing that I encourage all my patients to do is find out whether exercise ramps you up or puts you to sleep. Because you're normally one of the two different types of people. Because certain people, after exercise, your adrenal hormones get ramped up. Lots of cortisol, lots of adrenaline, and you are going to maintain a high for a few hours after.
Right.
Other people, after exercise, those adrenal hormones go down. And
then
it's
it's
great.
restful, yeah. So they could get
Exactly.
up and do some jumping jacks and go
Exactly.
back to bed.
That's a perfect idea. Or exercise before bed. I mean, if you can
Okay.
take 20 minutes, if you have a treadmill, or lift some weights, or do something, so that your hormones start to go down, and your adrenaline goes down, so you can sleep through the night.
Wow.
But I like the jumping jacks as well. It sounds like a good idea.
Sounds good to me, although I never have a problem with it,
One-
going back to sleep.
One thing that would keep me awake, and I have friends who've told me the same thing, if you wake up and you start to think, what am I
Yeah,
going
you
to do
go through
tomorrow?
your day worrying.
Something happened with something else, and you start, forget it. The mind goes crazy. And sleep doesn't happen,
Right.
right? Am I
Yep.
right? So that's something that, and it's hard to say, well, how can I not think?
Right.
Journal, get out your journal, write it all out.
Yeah, write it out,
Good.
and that's where meditation comes in and things like that too, right?
Good. I'm glad I love journaling. I tell everybody to journal. It's a fantastic thing to do, because like you said, all these thoughts are in there, and they're going to stay in there unless you
Yeah,
do something with them.
yeah.
So having a journal is a fantastic thing to do. just to get it out there. One of my patients, she didn't want a journal. She did what she called wet toilet paper throwing. So she got a bowl of water and a roll of toilet paper and balled it up and threw it at the garage. Just
that's fun.
each little piece. But it's about expression.
Yeah.
It's about what's
getting it out
inside and
some
getting
way.
it out. Exactly.
Sometimes because you feel like you need to talk to somebody about your problems, but who's there at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well,
Nobody's going to be wanting to be woken up to
nobody
hear
but
your
some bad
problems.
infomercials.
Or you can watch our show. It's on in the middle of the night
Yeah.
in certain channels.
And it'll put you to sleep?
No. It'll rev you
But
up.
Rosemary, back to what you were saying. Most people, well, not most people, I'd say about half people are what you describe. Those racing thoughts. Those racing thoughts come from an imbalance in the brain. Come from an imbalance of all these different brain chemicals, these neurotransmitters that you're making, and it's mostly a deficiency of one called serotonin. Now, serotonin is very
Right.
common. Most people know what serotonin is. It's a brain chemical that slows the brain down. So we've got accelerators and we've got brakes, and we need a balance of each to make sure we're driving 55 inside
Right.
of our brain. But if we don't have that brake, that accelerator is just going to go, and it's not going to stop. Of course, serotonin is very well known because of a lot of the medications like Prozac and Lexapro that help you hold on to the serotonin that you have.
Right.
Okay. However, if you're not making more, you're going to hold on to nothing that's there. So a lot of patients will have to increase their level of medication. We're taking more and more Prozac and more Cymbalta or whatever,
Right.
because you're holding on to nothing. And so
they think by upping the dose you'll get a
Right.
greater effect, but in fact,
there's
your
nothing to hold on
basket's
to.
still holding nothing.
Exactly. But we can make more
Yeah,
because
okay.
that serotonin is made of something. And so if we give the something, you're going to make more serotonin. And serotonin is made from different amino acids and from different vitamins and minerals. And if we give those to the body has no choice but to put them together. Like I tell my patients, if you have bread and peanut butter in your fridge, you're going to make peanut butter sandwiches. And it's the same thing with the brain. You give it certain nutrients, it puts them together. And so we can increase the serotonin levels, and actually serotonin then turns into melatonin.
Oh, wow.
So the two tonins are related, and these are the two tonins of sleep. And if we can get that going, those thoughts will start to slow down. Eventually those thoughts will stop so you can fall asleep.
So you can give the people this natural things.
Sure.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yep.
My
Helps
question.
so many people.
Oh, that's great. And I'd like you to tell us how. My question that I wanted to ask you was, what are the effects? What is happening to America taking all these sleeping pills, all these different
That's a
sleeping
good
pills?
question, yeah.
Right.
And the side
Yeah,
effects. They
side
tell you all the
effects.
side effects, but you tell us what it does to the body.
Right. Well, it's going to cause more imbalances in those different pathways which we've talked about, especially imbalances in the brain chemicals and imbalances in our stress hormones. And how those are handling. The more stress hormones we have, the worse our immune system becomes. Because anytime we're stressed, our body's going to use all its energy for stress. It's going to use none of its energy for anything else. So the immune system starts to fall down. And now we're getting more colds. And now we're getting more lung infections. And now I'm congested and I can't sleep even more.
Right, I was listening to Bruce Lipton. Do you know
Yep.
Bruce Lipton, biologist? And he was talking about that the effect of our energy, how it goes out in stress to our limbs. The blood circulates to our limbs because it's like that fight or flight
Sure.
thing. So where we need the immunity to come in to fight pathogens or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it's not present because it's too busy going out
Yes,
in defense
Right.
mode. Right?
that's true. And the best way to compensate with that is hydrotherapy. Now, hydrotherapy is a type of medicine that uses water, obviously. So before bed, it's time for a cold shower.
Cold shower.
Cold shower. We'll start with a cool shower. Rosemary.
Cold shower?
You just make me laugh.
Oh, no,
We went from warm milk to cold shower.
I don't think so. Why
But like you said, we need to drive the blood to the inside.
Inside, okay.
And
Oh.
what cool does, you put a piece of ice, why do we put ice on a sprained ankle?
Yeah, that
Because
makes
there's all that blood there and we need to push it away, and the ice pushes away the blood. Okay? So if I've got all the blood out in
Helps
my
you
limbs.
to contract. You
Exactly.
contract it back in.
All your blood vessels contract and the blood goes into the core. where you need it for defense, and you need it for immunity, and you need it for strength. So a nice, we'll say cool, how about that? A nice cool shower before bed, or a cool bath before bed, is going to help bring everything to the center.
Now,
Are you ready for that, Rosemary?
No. Here's what I do. If I should have one of those times when I wake up and I'm thinking and I can't get back to sleep, you know what helps me to fall asleep? If I go and have, say, a slice of bread, a toast, piece of toast and butter, something like that, something light.
Carbohydrates.
Yeah, I go, because I know eating pulls the blood out of your head. Most people after a full meal, they go
Yeah,
right out, right?
Big bowl
But you
of
can't eat
pasta,
a full
wanna
meal when you go
sleep.
to bed because you may fall right to sleep, but then you'll start to wake up as it digests and it wakes you
Sure,
up and it's
sure.
yucky. But if you don't have anything much in your stomach and you have, for me, when I have something like that, I can go right off again.
Good,
'Cause it pulls the blood right out and go to
good.
sleep. Sleepy, nice sleepy.
Now, is it the toast, or is it anything you eat?
No, it's something light like that. It's got to be toast. You can't have anything heavy like peanut butter or meat or
Right.
things like that.
Has
Yeah, it's just something
difficult
light.
to digest.
Yeah, something light. Usually, I think the toast, bread is the best thing. It's
Okay.
just kind of right, you know, a little bread and butter. That's what I do,
Good,
and it works well, you know.
perfect.
I often recommend for my clients like Epsom salts and magnesium. Any kind of, like if they could just soak in a warm tub of Epsom salts.
Right.
It's so relaxing.
It's perfect. So,
Puts me right to sleep.
Yeah.
So
I'll sleep
these-
in the tub.
Drugs now, getting
Sure.
back to that.
yep.
What's the long-term effect on the people then?
Oh yeah, the sleeping pills.
Well, there's different classifications of these pharmaceuticals that work to cause sleep. A lot of them just dope you out. They change the brain chemistry so that you slam on the brakes of the brain, and those brakes are hit so hard they force you down into sleep. Now, of course, the problem is, first off, can you bounce back in the morning? And a lot of people
Can
are
you
going to
wake
be
up
very
if there's an
groggy.
emergency?
Or
Yeah.
wake up if there's an emergency. Exactly. A lot of people are just going to be so exhausted that they won't be able to respond in the morning. And that exhaustion not only occurs externally, but also happens internally. So we're looking at the rest of the body not being able to function. This is the immune system and the digestive system, the detoxification systems. The other classification of drug is actually a form of melatonin. So it works
interesting.
just like melatonin in signaling that Big Ben of sleep, but it has side effects. So for people who use that drug, melatonin is going to work just as well without any of the bad effects. So, but going back to what you were saying, I love Epsom salts and telling people to use
and
Epsom
it's such
salts.
an inexpensive solution.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just
Detoxifying
it's
too, right?
detoxifying. It's a salt of magnesium. And you run a hot bath and you put in these magnesium sulfate crystals, which is Epsom salts. And number one, it's detoxifying. But number two, the relaxing capabilities of magnesium are amazing. So this is not just in your brain, because magnesium in your brain turns off the brain so you can sleep. So a lot of people who are low on magnesium are the people who can't sleep. The people with muscle spasms, now this may be restless leg syndrome, this may be jittery legs, this just may be different fasciculations or spasms of the muscles, are because of low magnesium. People with low magnesium also crave chocolate. So because there's so much magnesium in chocolate, when you crave it and you want it and you can't sleep and your muscles ache, a little bit of magnesium, whether it's in the Epsom salts or whether you take it orally, is fantastic. Fantastic for sleep.
I take calcium, magnesium. I've been taking it for God knows how long with
Good.
boron.
Good.
Well, boron to help to assimilate it, and like I'll take one in the afternoon, one at supper, and then one before I go to bed. And if I forget it, say I fall asleep,
Right.
sometimes I'll wake up during the night and I'll say, oh, I'm not so sleepy. I take one and go right back to sleep.
Good.
So that magnesium, you're right.
It's-
Yeah.
It's excellent.
It's
My daughter
fantastic.
can't take it during the day because it puts her to sleep.
Well, she must not have
Seriously.
very much.
So that's good. You know, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I have a question about like habits that affect our sleep, say
Sure.
alcohol and alcoholism per se. Like I
Right.
understand that if you have difficulties with alcohol consumption, that you may never get the REM sleep that you need, the proper cycles of sleep.
Right.
You talk a little bit about that?
Sure. There's different levels of sleep, as you said, and the most important one is that REM sleep. REM is an acronym that stands for rapid eye movements, and it's that part of our sleep where our brain is connecting itself. And it's reconnecting, and it's learning things, and it's bringing the body back to a center. So it's very important for healing. It's very important for detoxifying and processing and moving us along to where we need to be. If we don't hit that level of sleep, we aren't rested. We aren't healed. We aren't rejuvenated. So the different layers of sleep, they number, but it's basically a very light sleep, and you don't get down to that REM sleep.
You could, drink and pass out, but
Sure.
you're not getting the quality of sleep
Exactly.
that you need.
And that sleep is a deep, deep sleep. So people have a light sleep, or people have this REM sleep, which is in the middle, or people have a deep, almost coma
so they're
type.
skipping over, essentially skipping over
Right.
that stage.
Because this REM stage of sleep that is so important is in the middle, if
Okay.
you will. It's not a light sleep where you can wake up just like that. It's not this coma where you can't get out of it. So it's right in this middle that you're asleep, but your body is awake enough to do things.
Okay.
Because if you, like you brought up alcohol, your whole body is going to stop. Your whole body's going to stop working, and it's not even healing when you're passed out. And not to mention the nutritional deficiencies that you'll get, especially B vitamin deficiencies, and people who drink a lot of alcohol. Without those B vitamins, healing's not going on, enzymatic processes, different carbohydrate metabolism and fat metabolism, neurotransmitter production aren't working without these B vitamins. So that's just another side effect of severe alcoholism. But it's important.
Wow.
And another nutrient that I wanted to talk about that you brought up, for these people who don't get outside, for these people who aren't
Right.
connected into the rhythm, brings up the whole conversation about vitamin D
Oh, yeah.
and how much of a deficiency our world is in for vitamin D. Because, again, we used to be outside, we used to be farmers, we used to hunt food, and now we're hunting in a cubicle, hunting for the piece of paper we lost. And
Artificial light.
exactly, we get no vitamin D. And everyone, I test vitamin D levels on so many people, we're dramatically low.
I just had a conversation with a colleague actually last week who explained that she was starting to show symptoms of what seemed like fibromyalgia. They were kind of pointing her in that towards that diagnosis, and she said she was just in horrible pain all over, and she had her vitamin D levels tested, and they said she had adult rickets, like a minor case of adult rickets, because her vitamin D level was so
Sure.
low, which was just, she said the pain was not just your typical joint pain, but just everywhere, her
Right.
muscles, her bones, she could just feel the pain
Right,
throughout her entire body.
right.
The 400 units a day, is that enough for people?
No, that is paltry.
That's minimal, right?
Really?
That is not even minimal.
Minimal.
I went to, no, please go ahead, Rosemary.
No, because if I tried to take vitamin D many times, but it seems like it makes my body hurt if I take too much vitamin D.
How much vitamin D?
400. That's it.
Okay.
And can that happen to someone? Well, what would be the reason?
I've never heard of that happening. Do you take it with something else, or are you just taking 400 IUs of vitamin D?
Yeah, 400 IUs of vitamin D. Of course, I have my calcium, magnesium, and all that.
Right.
You mean like a pill that has vitamin D in it plus the calcium and the magnesium? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my question is, are you taking the vitamin D alone, or are there
Alone.
other things with it? You're taking it with your CalMag.
Let's see. Yeah, I could do that in the afternoon, I guess. No, I can't remember when I took it because I have all these vitamins and I space them out during the day.
Right.
So why? Well, tell me why. What if you take it alone? What will?
Well, I've never heard of vitamin D causing people pain.
No. Okay.
I went to the National Institute of Health, NIH. They had a vitamin D conference last year. They have it usually about every 4 or 5 years. There were speakers from around the world, all of the leaders in vitamin D research from everywhere. And it was a phenomenal lecture. And most of medicine does not know this information about vitamin D. First off, you need to get your vitamin D tested. Everyone, go get it tested. It's a blood test. It's very simple. First off, the reference ranges are incorrect. So when you get your results back, you're going to compare them to the reference range, or the doctor is going to compare them to the reference range. That's on the paper there. Normal reference range is between 20 and 80 that you'll see printed on the paper. If you're below 20, that's a diagnosis of osteoporosis, or if you're a child, it's a diagnosis of rickets. And we're saying that
Same
just
thing,
over that
pretty
layer,
much just
21 is
age,
enough, right? It's just age that determines the difference in those diagnoses. We really want the range to be, and the NIH was supporting a range from 75 to 150. So we take a look at 20 to 80, 75 to 150, huge changes. So where do we get most of our vitamin D is, of course, daily sunshine exposure. Now that's sunshine exposure on most of our body. It's not just on our face.
We're all covered up and we're wearing sunscreen.
Exactly. You're wearing
It's like,
sunscreen.
oh, wear sunscreen. No, maybe we don't wear so much sunscreen.
Right. And there needs to be a happy medium, because we need to avoid skin cancer. But if you're out there and you only have your face exposed, or you're wearing makeup that has UV protection, or you're in your car with the UV protection through the glass, or your sunglasses, or the sunscreen, whatever it may be, we're not getting enough sun. And the amount that the government suggests now, the RDA of 400 IUs, too low. I normally give my patients 5,000 or 10,000
Really?
a day.
Oh my God.
Wow, I was taking 2,000. I thought, oh no, maybe I'm taking too much.
No, not even close. So you do need to take that kind of dose under the supervision of a physician or a naturopath, because you want to make sure that you don't get too much calcium in your blood. And that's the only side effect of too much vitamin D, is too much calcium in your blood.
Yeah, because I heard that you can be toxic, too much D or too much A. Not beta carotene, but A.
Correct.
So that's right? That's right? Okay.
That's right. And the symptom of too much D will be too much calcium in the blood. That can cause some problems with your heart. That can cause some problems causing kidney stones, etc.
Okay.
The toxic dose of vitamin D is 40,000 a day for multiple days. Now, a lot of people will take 50,000 a week. That's a pharmaceutical prescription. They'll get 50,000 pill and take that once a week.
And that's okay to
safe.
take it, yeah, because that's why everybody, I strongly recommend that you get supervised with this, because, you know, some vitamins become available in your bloodstream immediately and have a short-term effect, and others are more leveled out.
Right.
So we have to really get some professional advice on that.
Do it under a physician's care, and someone who knows about vitamin D. And naturopaths definitely are aware of this, and a lot of conventional docs are too, but you have to go to somebody who's aware and knows what they're doing. But we need a lot, and the vitamin D actually isn't a vitamin. Vitamin D is a hormone. Our body makes it.
Oh, wow.
The rest of the vitamins we don't make. We don't make A or C or B1 or 2 or 6 or 9 or 12. We don't make those, but we make vitamin D when we're exposed to sunlight. So it's really a hormone, and it affects almost every part of the body. There are receptors on the cells in our heart, in our lungs, in our intestines, in our stomach, in our brain, in the uterus, the testicles, the adrenal glands, the bone, the thyroid. Everything reacts to vitamin D, and we don't even know what it does yet. Science knows this much about what vitamin D does.
So I always think of it, this is what I've been doing, taking it in the morning, because I'm like, oh, it's a little bit of sunshine for the day. But I'm worried about taking it at night. Will it rev you up?
It will not.
No, okay.
So it's not going to
All
cause
right, so
any
it doesn't
kind
matter
of-
when you take it.
It doesn't matter when you take it, but you should take it with food.
Okay.
As you mentioned, Rosemary, vitamin A, vitamin D, also vitamin E, and vitamin K are the 4 fat-soluble vitamins, and you can become much more toxic on fat-soluble vitamins than the water-soluble ones.
Yeah,
like all the B vitamins, when you take a good B vitamin, you're going to be urinating that bright yellow. That's how you know it's getting in your system.
Yeah.
And those things are water-soluble, and they pass out if you have too much of them.
Yeah, I've been taking vitamin D like 400 units.
Yep.
Over 20 years or so.
Yep.
No more than that ever, just that much, you know. How much sun would you need on your body to get enough vitamin D?
10 minutes of almost full exposure.
Which means without the clothes?
So
Which
take
means
off your
you're at the
clothes and
beach.
run around in your backyard.
We did this last time.
You did that last
Do we
time.
have to take off all our clothes and stand outside? Oh, God, no.
No, but if you were at the beach, 10 minutes is going to be enough exposure to get you a full daily dose. And that dose has been measured at approximately 10,000 IUs.
Wow.
Which is why we know it's a safe level.
So
And
that's
then
in
after
a
that-
Bathing suit. I'm sorry, that's in a bathing suit. In other words,
That's in a
that's how much
bathing
needs
suit.
to be exposed.
Sure.
Okay.
But the majority.
You can't go out with, say, shorts. You could do shorts, right? No, not slacks. And not like I'm dressed now, right?
Well, you're going to get less. You're going to need more minutes of sunshine
Need more. Okay.
to get that level that
Okay.
you need. Or you take it supplementally.
Yeah.
And of course, most people think that there's vitamin D in their milk. And that's where we
Yeah,
say,
it's
geez, you get your
minimal.
milk, you get your 400 IUs. They ran a study. They took 650 gallons of milk off of the shelf, and they tested them for vitamin D. 50, I believe it was 45% of the gallons had 400 IUs. The other 45% had 200 IUs. 10% had none. Gone. So
Wow.
it's what's on the labels is not what's in the food, as much
Right.
as we'd love to believe it.
Interesting.
So vitamin D should be taken with food.
Yes,
It doesn't matter what time of day.
No.
And you don't have to take with any other vitamin.
correct.
You just have to take with food.
Right,
Okay, everybody hear that out there? Okay.
And on the subject of food,
right.
what are some foods that we might want to avoid if we're having trouble with our sleeping,
Sure.
and maybe
Yes,
some that we might
yes.
want to add to our
Yes,
diets?
good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Obviously, the ones that most people know about are avoid anything that's going to ramp you up. So this includes any kind of sugar, any kind of caffeine, desserts, of course. That sugar in there is going to ramp you up. What I tell my patients when they wonder how much sugar am I really getting, have everyone read the ingredient list. So when you read the ingredient list, it's going to say sugars, and it's going to say some number of grams. And that means nothing to me. I don't know what a gram is, so that's not tangible for me. However, take that number of grams and divide by 4, and that's the number of teaspoons of sugar you're eating.
wow.
So you have soda that
Divide
has
by 4. I got to tell my kids
divide
that.
by 4. You have a soda which has 52 grams of sugar. That's 13 teaspoons of sugar. Think about how that's going to make you feel.
Ooh.
Think about if that's going to let you go to sleep. And you're having some ice cream. You look at ice cream, the serving size of ice cream is a half of a cup.
Yeah.
Now, I don't eat a half cup when I eat ice cream.
No, me neither.
So you've got to take your
Well, we have
serving
that-
size.
We have that calcium in there that helps calm us down a
And
little.
protein helps you sleep, and
Right.
calcium. Yeah.
You have to count your serving size, take those sugar grams, multiply it by your servings, divide by 4, it's the number of teaspoons. And then, of course, there's always that great Seinfeld episode that I always tell patients about where they had the turkey and the boxed wine to put people to sleep. But
Yeah. what is it?
tryptophan.
Tryptophan. That
Tryptophan,
works wonderful.
which is an amino acid. Tryptophan turns into, any guesses? Tryptophan turns into the tonins.
Yeah.
So it turns into serotonin, turns into melatonin.
But you can't get it anymore in a pill. 'Cause
Yeah, isn't that
bad
became
press that
bad
one
press,
time, the
too.
same type of thing happened.
Right.
They never put that back out
Well-
because it works.
I remember my
tryptophan-
mother giving that to my sister
Yeah.
when she was having
It
sleep
came back
problems.
on the market recently.
Oh, did it?
So what you're referring to is the amino acid tryptophan was barred off the market
Right, that's
as
what I mean,
supplement
yeah.
sales, but it did come back on the market recently. So you
Good.
can get tryptophan, straight
That's great.
tryptophan in a capsule, or you can get 5-HTP, and they are very similar. Tryptophan turns into 5-HTP.
Okay.
So
But should
either
you
of those
take
should
that
work.
without talking to a naturopath? Can you take it on your own?
You can take it on your own. However, you may contract something known as serotonin syndrome, which is why most of the time you want to have a supervision of a naturopath or another physician who
Right.
understands alternative therapies while you're doing it. And it's really, when I see patients, it's the testing that helps me the most know what kind of therapy is going to work the most.
Right.
Because you can go to the store and grab melatonin or grab 5-HTP or grab valerian and just trial and error. But we need to test the neurotransmitters, we need to test the adrenal glands, we need to test the sex hormones and figure out what is your answer. And that's when we have the best help. And it's great because a lot of these different tests are starting to be covered by insurances, of course, as well as naturopathic visits. Most of my patients have Blue Cross or HealthNet or what have you, and it's all covered, so you can find the answer.
Wow. Now, what foods?
What foods to
What
have?
foods to help you calm?
Relaxing foods, things like turkey is a
Okay,
great
yeah, you
food
did
to have.
mention that one.
Root vegetables. You were talking about that gentleman who had the energy up top and not the energy at the bottom.
Grounding, yeah. Get
Grounding.
a vegetable that's already in the ground.
Exactly. So any kind of
Gotcha.
vegetable that's a root. So you're looking at your carrots and your potatoes and your squashes and
Mm-hmm.
your beets and those kind of things are going to pull your energy down. So those are great things to eat and
For
avoid the
sleeping,
sugar
okay.
and avoid fluids, obviously. So people who wake up at night because they have to go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah, that's a problem.
which happens
sometimes.
to many, many, many people, and that's the reason they wake up. So don't drink after dinner. Anything.
Yeah.
Well, that works, and sometimes it doesn't.
It's true.
Because sometimes you'll hold fluid during the day. Like myself, if I'm really relaxed,
Right.
then the water comes out.
Sure.
And that's when I'm really relaxed, is when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And getting back to that REM sleep,
Right.
when I have that deep sleep, that's when I wake up and feel so good in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I have it often, and I have dreams. I
Remember
dream
your
constantly.
dreams, yeah.
Yeah, and pleasant dreams, you know, and that we need that deep sleep.
Yes,
we
the
need
body
it
needs
so
it.
much.
Here's, I know we are getting short on time, but children, night terrors,
Right.
and that's a growing problem amongst children too now, with their quality of sleep.
Oh, it definitely is, and nightmares do affect a lot of children. A lot of the nightmares come when they're on medications.
Oh, really?
So that's something, obviously, if you're on a new medication, which usually it's an ADD medication, so it's normally the
Okay.
kids on the Ritalin or such that get that medicine type of nightmare. Now, some kids obviously get night terrors
be
without
like-
them. Just
Maybe
get them
it's
on
the
their own.
Benadryl, or you think that might
Not normally.
things like okay.
But anybody can react to something. Anybody can have
Right.
unique reactions. I have huge success with homeopathic remedies for night terrors. The first patient I ever saw was a little 4-year-old. We gave him the homeopathic remedy, and the morning after, he ran downstairs and he told his mother, "I don't have to pull the sheets over my head anymore."
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
And it just works such wonders.
Oh, that's great.
So that's fantastic. Of course, night terrors will keep everybody up.
the whole
If
family.
One person's screaming, the whole family's up.
And is there something natural you could give them instead of having to take the Ritalin?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so many patients that I see.
People to know that out there.
Right. You don't need these type of ADD drugs. You need to change their food. You need to get them off of sugar. I taught a nutrition class. One time we did an exercise. We counted those grams of sugar. That we took a general diet that's not the best. We had a couple Pop-Tarts in the morning. We had kind of those boxed lunching things you find in there.
yeah. all those-
And then they came home and they had some candy while they played their video games and had some soda. All of those grams of sugar equaled half of a bag of sugar. 5-pound bag of sugar, half
That's
of a bag
interesting to
every
show
day.
them. Wow.
So you really count those things up. Some of those lunch things have shellac, what you cover your furniture with. It's in the food. Read your ingredient list.
Oh my God.
It's
Yeah,
sometimes it's
people need to
scary.
read ingredients. They really need to read.
Wow.
Sometimes very scary.
The poor
Well-
children. It's terrible today. The poor children.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You gave us a lot of great info on sleep. So you really need to know yourself, because I understand you were saying, like, even with the exercise, if
Sure.
you are the type of person that relaxes you, or is that are you the type of person that gets revved up by that? So I would say you have to really look at your daily life and
Right.
what's affecting you, and then come to you, of course, and
Right.
look at the alternatives available.
Yeah, there's a lot of people have been helped, and it feels great for me to have people come in who haven't slept in years to have a good night's sleep and a full night's sleep. When we find that answer,
Okay.
it clicks, and
All
it's
right.
great. So
Well, thanks for coming.
No problem. Thank you,
And we're going to
Tracy.
put up
Rosemary,
your information
thanks
so
for
people
having me
can
on your show
get in
again.
touch with
Yes.
you.
always a pleasure.
Anytime.
Dr. Jarod Skowrun, he's a naturopathic physician. You can reach him at 203-500-5532. Website is www.naturopathicanswer.com. And if you'd like to contact Rosemary or I, you can reach Rosemary at 203-627-7966. And you can reach me at 203-232-3405. And if you'd like to do our quote for the night?
Do we have to? How about the healing outside the box?
Yeah, we'll do our
We'll go
quote
back to that. All right.
first.
Our quote
read
for
our quote
tonight
first.
is: "The tragedies of life are nothing else but lessons of unconditional, unlimited, and all-inclusive love. And they will be repeated over and over again until we learn the lesson."
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Bye. See you next time.
Out through the window to the world you have made. Always know you are the vision
receptors and all